Welcome back to the Healing Poetic Podcast. I'm Kia McLean, the poet, author, speaker, podcast host, and your hardcore healing pen coach. Before we begin today's conversation, I want to personally invite you to join my private subscriber community, Rise. Rise is where we go beyond the public conversation. It's a community for people committed to healing, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and living authentically. Inside, I share exclusive podcast episodes, guided journaling exercises, reflections, and conversations that allow us to continue this work on a deeper level. If you've been enjoying the Box and the Sky series, I'd love for you to join us. Healing isn't something we accomplish in one conversation. It's something we practice together. Now, before we jump in, I want you to imagine we're sitting together over coffee. Or maybe, if you're anything like me, you've stepped outside with your journal, an iced coffee, or maybe even a cigar, giving yourself permission to slow down for a little while. However, you're joining me today. Thank you. For those that are here for the first time, welcome. For those that have continued to support the podcast and yourself, welcome back. Let's have an honest conversation. Today's episode is called The Day Healing Became My Personality, When the Work Stops Feeling Like Work. I used to think healing was something I did for years. Healing was something I scheduled. I journaled because I needed to. I meditated because someone told me it would help. I went to therapy because I knew I needed tools. I read books, listened to podcasts, attended retreats, sat in workshops, cried through journal entries, sat in uncomfortable silence. Some days I wondered if any of it was working. Maybe you've been there too. You wonder, why am I still triggered? Why am I still grieving? Why do I still get anxious? Healing can feel frustrating because it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in one journal, one therapy session, one breakthrough. Healing happens in ordinary moments that you almost don't notice. Until one day, you realize you're responding differently. So, the moment I noticed, there wasn't one lightning bolt. There wasn't one magical morning where I woke up completely different. It happened quietly. One day, someone disappointed me, and I didn't chase them. One day, someone misunderstood me, and I didn't spend hours trying to convince them. One day I received criticism, and instead of becoming defensive, I became curious. One day I recognized a relationship was no longer healthy, and instead of clinging, I released it with love. Those moments weren't dramatic. They were peaceful. That's when I realized healing wasn't something I visited anymore. It had become the place I lived. Now, embodiment looks ordinary. I think social media has convinced us that healing always looks profound. Big revelations, inspirational quotes, perfect morning routines, beautiful journal pages. But healing rarely announces itself. Sometimes healing looks like not responding to the text, not explaining yourself for the 10th time, leaving the argument before it becomes disrespectful, choosing sleep instead of proving your point, walking away without needing the last word. Real healing often looks very ordinary, and that's what makes it so beautiful. And there's a difference between knowing and embodying. There was a time when I knew all the right things to say. I could talk about boundaries, self-worth, forgiveness, grief, trauma, inner child healing. I understood the language. But understanding healing and embodying healing are two different things. Embodiment is when your actions finally catch up with your wisdom. It's when you don't have to remember your boundaries. They're simply part of who you are. You don't have to remind yourself to pause. You naturally breathe before reacting. You don't have to force yourself to journal. You reach for your journal because it's become one of the ways you care for yourself. Healing becomes less like homework and more like home. My relationship with silence even changed. One of the biggest shifts for me was learning to appreciate silence. There was a season when silence terrified me. If my phone wasn't ringing, if people weren't texting, if I wasn't busy, I thought something was wrong. Today, silence feels sacred. It's where I hear myself. It's where I hear my intuition. It's where I reconnect with the divine. It's where I notice the subtle whispers that noise used to drown out. Healing taught me that silence isn't empty. It's full of clarity, full of wisdom, full of peace. Yesterday, I treated myself for a solo lunch date. All I wanted to do was go to the bookstore, just peruse the books, see if there was anything interesting that I wanted to pick up, but also just spend time in the bookstore. Found a little corner and a book, and I just kind of read through the book a little bit, flipped through the pages, and then I found another one and I kind of flipped through those pages. And then I went to lunch, and I had a book in the car with me. And I sat at lunch, and I read my book. And it was noisy around me, but there was silence in my booth. It was like I was closed off from everyone. And that's just a moment that I wanted to share, that this is a very natural thing for me now. That used to feel uncomfortable for me. Being alone, going places alone, sitting in silence, and really being the main character in my life when I'm out in these spaces, and not feeling like I need to connect with anyone. And you know what happens? And what happened in the past? My body started trusting me. Something beautiful happens when you consistently show up for yourself. Your body begins to trust you because you've stopped abandoning yourself. You've stopped ignoring your needs. You've stopped overriding your intuition. You've stopped saying yes when your whole body is screaming no. Your nervous system notices. It begins to relax, not because life becomes easier, but because you become safer for yourself. That's a kind of peace I can't fully describe. You have to experience it. And you know what? People will notice it before you do. Here's something funny. Other people often notice your healing before you do. They'll say, "You're different. You're calmer. You don't react like you used to. You seem lighter." And sometimes people won't like the new version of you. Not because you've become unkind, but because you've become unavailable for dynamics that once kept everyone comfortable. Healing changes your relationships. Not because you're trying to leave people behind, but because you stop abandoning yourself to stay connected. And I really had to pay attention to this when I started to move differently because I was practicing life differently. So that meant I'm now protecting myself. I'm now loving myself. I'm now noticing things about myself and removing myself from certain spaces. And I'm paying attention to people. I'm paying attention to people who once loved me and are now angry with me. And they're presenting a different story about me. They're creating a narrative that isn't true. Or they're telling things that were private between us because they can't deal with that level of what feels like rejection to them. But it's not. Because healing isn't perfection. Please hear me. Healing doesn't mean I never get frustrated. I still do. It doesn't mean I never cry. I absolutely do. It doesn't mean I never have hard days, because of course I do. Healing doesn't remove your humanity, it deepens your relationship with it. The difference is I recover differently, I reflect differently, I repair differently, I apologize differently, I forgive differently, and mostly the forgiveness is for me. If you've heard my episode on forgiveness, you'll know where I stand with that. I trust myself differently. That's embodiment. The box says, keep proving you've changed. The sky whispers, you don't have to prove what you've become. A tree doesn't wake up every morning trying to convince the forest it's growing. It simply grows quietly, consistently, patiently. Healing is much the same. You don't have to announce it. People experience it when they're in your presence. More importantly, you experience it when you're alone. You know, I would often do these TikTok videos or Facebook videos, and I would make an announcement. I've had to release some people. I've had to let some people go. I've had to move in a different direction. And it wasn't to gloat or to brag about it. It was me stepping more into that and being honest out loud about that. Now, I don't need to announce it. It's a silent thing that happens, and no one needs to know that. So today, I want to leave you with a few questions. Where have I been looking for dramatic evidence that I'm healing, instead of noticing the quiet ways I've already changed? What habits have become acts of self-love instead of obligations? I hope you're writing this down. How has my relationship with myself changed over the last 5 years? And finally, what part of my healing have I been overlooking because it no longer feels extraordinary? Do not rush those questions. Healing has a way of revealing itself in hindsight. Trust me. I've been there. I can tell you that I am in the embodiment of healing now. For many, many years, I was just working towards just the practice of healing. And I looked up one day and I was like, oh, you're embodying this. You don't even have to speak on it. You don't have to say anything. You just move in that energy. So if today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to continue exploring healing, authenticity, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness, I invite you to join me inside my private subscriber community, Rise. Inside Rise, we continue these conversations through exclusive podcast episodes, guided journaling exercises, deeper reflections, and meaningful dialogue with a community committed to growth and authentic living. Healing isn't about arriving at a perfect version of yourself. It's about becoming so familiar with your own truth that peace starts to feel natural instead of rare. Thank you for spending this time with me. And to support me further, please go out to my website at www.keyscoaching.com, KEYAS Follow me out on Instagram, Hardcore Healing Pen Coach. And then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Kia McLean, the Poet. Hey, y'all. This is Kia McLean, the Poet, your Hardcore Healing Pen Coach. I want you to protect your peace, honor your truth, trust your intuition, and remember, it keeps asking, who are you trying to become? The sky smiles and says, look again. You're already becoming her or him. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time, peace.